Hello everyone, it's Enrique. I hope everyone is safe and well. This is the last of our presentations, and this is the presentation where you can ask all the questions before you approve or disapprove the budget as is. So we're going to start now. Back in January 8th, when we started this budget process, we talked about a budget between $81.6 and $82.6 million. In March 25, and since then we haven't made any changes. We all work very hard to get to the $82.1 million. Last year the budget was $80 million, so it's an increase of $2 million or 2.62%. Tax levy is a big increase, but so everyone knows, the whole increase is due to the energy pilot. If Indian Point had not closed, our tax levy would be a decrease rather than an increase. We lost more money in the pilot than what our tax levy is going up. Our tax levy is going up 5.96%. The New York State cap is 1.81%. It means that inflation in New York State was 1.81% last year. So that's below the 2% maximum. So that's what the New York State cap is. Our Hancock cap is 11.34. And last week I updated the board with new numbers, an increasing number of our pilot payments. However, I don't want to include it in a presentation, first of all because we haven't signed the agreement with Entergy. Entergy sent us an email saying that they agree. Lawyers are preparing the agreement. So that's reason number one why I kept the 11.34%. Reason number two is that about 3 weeks ago, it was the deadline to set our cap with SED and the state controller. And I cannot change it suddenly without, before everything happened. So I will have to talk to SED and the state controller. They will have to open the portal just for me so I can change the number. Because in this case it doesn't matter, but you can imagine that if we were close to the number, it would have mattered. But I will do that probably in June when they open the portal just for us. So I kept the number with the increase in the pilot. Our cap will go down from 11.3% to 9.91%. We are still way below that. And this is a summary of all our revenues. And again, because none of the revenues that we discussed last week are for certain and the pilot will make up the difference, I decided to leave them as they were. State aid is an increase of 12.9%, and this is without the reduction of $160,000. BOSI stays the same at $697. It's an increase of 2.5%. Other income is $1.1 million. I didn't reduce the $450,000 that we discussed. I'm sorry, the $125,000 that we discussed last week in interest income. Sales tax, $1.2 million. I didn't decrease the $450,000 that we discussed last week. Transfers, $80,000. Fund balance, $3 million. Again, fund balance, I didn't add the $126,000 that we discussed last year, and pilots $23.5 million, for a total of $35.7 million of non-property tax revenues. Our proposed budget, that is what you are voting for, is $82.1 million, an increase of 2.62%, and our tax levy increase 5.96%. Like Joe just said, if you look at our tax levy and our budgets in the past several years, where we've always been one of the lowest up until this year, and that's basically due to the Entergy closure. On the revenue side, here you can see very clearly how the pie is divided. Tax levy represents 56% of our revenues, pilots represent 29%, and fund balance about 4%, and the rest are the rest of the revenues that we just discussed. Expense codes, as you can see, most of our expenses are fixed costs, and most of them are salaries. Out of a budget of $82 million, $43 million are salaries. And if you add the benefits, then you have about 70% of our expenses going to, obviously, the people who work in this district. We are a service industry, and therefore most of our expenses go to people. As always, we always have to present the budget in the three categories by the government accounting, curriculum, and instruction. That, as you can see, is by far the biggest. Capital budget, that includes all our debt and all the costs to maintain our facilities. And then the administrative budget, which is the budget for all administration. And that's it for my presentation, Carol. So now anyone that has any questions or comments, I'm ready to answer.
All right. So Mary Pat, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. I just have one. As we went through the preliminary budget, you talked about like state aid is decreasing, sales tax, and the all those changes in the fund balance and such. What is the actual number of non-property tax revenue you have here for $35,700,000? What is the actual amount? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you couldn't change it. You can't change it immediately. But what is the number? I know it's being offset by the other funds, but I'm just is it the same number?
It's exactly the same number again. Like I mentioned last week.
The allocations are different.
Like I mentioned last week, between our losses and our increases, there were about $160,000 that we were short, and I will add it to fund balance. But that number has to be the same because the tax levy didn't change and the budget expense didn't change. So one drives the other one.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So basically that number is always going to stay the same. It's just the allocations above.
Exactly.
These numbers are not necessarily reflective because of everything that's going on, all these changes.
Exactly. The numbers is just going to switch from one to the other account, but the final number will be the same.
Okay. That's what I just wanted to be clear on that. All right. Other than that, no, thank you. As awful as all this has been, I mean, to keep it at 6%, 5.96 is still, that represents a lot of hard work. So, and a lot of planning, which, is very much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Pat. It was very important to clarify that point. Barbara, you're next. Do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. I just, like Mary Pat, would like to say thank you for the diligent efforts of everybody who worked on this. And Enrique, thank you, because I know it's been a very daunting task with, the numbers that have kept coming in from the governor's office. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it.
Lisa, you're up next.
Okay. I would also like to say thank you. And I know that we realize, I don't know if everybody else does out there listening, just the great changes that have happened with our school budgets, uncertainty surrounding them. And so really the team here, our administrative team, has really done a Herculean effort, I feel, to make sure that we are able to stay within the parameters that we had set. And so just, well.
Thank you.
Bill, you're next.
This has been a phenomenal challenge for the district, this budget, the beginning of the Entergy effect of losing Entergy money. And I think it's important that people understand that although some of these increases might sound larger, they are larger than what we've had in the past, that these have been, the numbers have been gone over many times, and a lot of cost savings have been implemented to get it down to these numbers. So the community needs to know that, which goes back to my earlier comment that it's important that Joe and Enrique try to somehow, with this corona environment, still do their road show and get out and do presentations remotely to educate our community, so they're not just looking at the numbers, but they understand that, wow, they did a great job at getting to these numbers.
Thank you, Bill. And again, I just want to remind everyone that our tax levy increase in dollars is less than what we lost in pilot payments. So if Entergy had not left us, this would have been a tax levy decrease.
Thank you, Bill and Enrique. Corey, you are last on the list.
Yeah, there's not much more to add here. I mean, it seems like every time we turn around, first we got cut off at the knees with Indian Point, and now we get cut off towards the hips with what's going on. So it's, I have to really commend the administration for keeping the increases, manageable compared to what they could have been. It's going to be tough on everybody, even with what it is, but it could have been so much worse. And I think people need to remember that perspective that, not only were we in a tough situation before, now we're in a tougher situation at this point. So, I think with all the board members who have worked so diligently and everyone else on the team, the administration, I just got to say thank you as a community member, not just as a board member, for all the great work you've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you very much for that, Corey. I also do not have any questions. I would like to commend Enrique and Joe and our administrators for working so hard on this budget. It is every year an arduous process, but especially this year. So we do have a resolution that we need to do a roll call for to pass, and the resolution says that resolves that the Board of Education of the Hendrick Hudson School District be authorized to expend the sum of $82,137,880 during the fiscal year 2020-2021 and a general tax levied thereof. Carmen, would you like me to call the roll, or would you like to call the roll?
Whatever you'd like to do, Carol. You want to call it, or do you want me to do it? Doesn't matter to me.
I'll call roll. Okay, so on our list here, I'm the first one to be called, and I say yes. Lisa?
Yes.
Mary Pat Briggy?
Yes.
Corey Notrica?
Yes.
William Uricchio?
Yes.
Barbara Pedersen?
Yes.
And Lori Ryan is absent this evening. So the board resolution passes by a unanimous vote of the members present. You got that right, Carmen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, everybody.